Good morning again.
Good
Back
morning.
with our discipleship review. So this past Saturday, we talked about Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 1 through 14. Um, God judges Israel. And it's it's there's so many different areas you could touch on. Um, I'll let you go first, Richard, and then I'll tack on to the end.
Okay. So one of the things that stood out to me as I was looking at this lesson is God is dealing with Israel. There's a phrase that as I was reading, I kept hearing, like it came up two or three times in this passage, and it said God acted out of who he was and not by what he felt. And as I kept hearing that, he's talking about his people, the nation that he chose, rebelling against him, like doing what they're not supposed to be doing, serving other gods. But yet God didn't act out of what he was feeling and how he felt, which was he wanted to punish and get rid of them and basically start over, find new people. But instead it acted out of who he was, which was God who made the promise to bring them into the promised land. And so it just, hearing that and just knowing what like God was going through and dealing with Israel, he took them out of Egypt and he basically wanted to like retrain and retool them. So it says he taught them the statutes, the rules, taught them to observe the Sabbath. Like God, it seemed like God like set them down, like, okay, you're out of Egypt. You don't have to serve the other idols now. I'm here. Let me show you how to do it. And the people like stood there watching. Not on like that. And went back to serving their other idols, their other gods. It says they profaned the Sabbath that God was trying to teach them and set them up to observe. And it's all that, but yet God still acted out of who he was and not how he was feeling. And just, hearing that, just, we see the grace of God and that same grace, is for us today. And so that was one of the things that stood out to me this week with this lesson.
Yeah, I mean that really is a deep point. Um, man, if God, if God truly just acted on how He feels, when we say how He felt, it wasn't like He was being unreasonable. He was just upset for no reason. He lays out
Right.
his case against Israel, like from the minute you stepped foot out of Egypt, you started tripping. Like you were crying, "Come save us in Egypt." I send Moses. I myself show up. I did, miracles in front of your eyes, and as soon as you got free, tripping already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, um, yeah, so many points. Um, I guess the one point um there's just I so Israel goes, they see all of the gods in Egypt be defeated. That's what the plagues were about. All the gods of Egypt were defeated, and yet they still were holding on to them. Then they travel from Egypt into Canaan. They see all the gods of Canaan be defeated. They've triumphed over every god that was in Canaan and still decided, let's worship these gods. The gods that couldn't save the people that we defeated, that we
Mhm.
slaughtered, we want to serve those gods. And it really just brings up this question, or this idea for us to really challenge ourselves with: why is it so hard for us to let go of things even when we know it's not, we guess, we know it's not
Yeah.
helping us. It's doing nothing for us. Why is it so hard for us to let it go? Some things I know it's not good. I just want to do it. I just it's like an addiction, you know. I guess that it really is. That's the definition of addiction. Like, I know it's
Mm,
not good. I know it's hurting me. I know it's not helping me. I just it's a struggle to not do it. It's crazy. It's crazy, but
yeah.
I think as we look at that, like, that's what God is dealing with when he deals with us. A people who, no matter how good he is to us, like, I mean, the more I say it, like, it, you can be the best parent, you can be the best friend, the best husband or wife to someone who's an addict, and it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't. It's not greater. Your love for them is not greater than their love for whatever it is they're addicted to. And
Mm,
I think that's what God is dealing with when he's dealing with us. Like, addicts. Just I know you're being good to me, God. I see it. I feel it, but just addicted. I don't want to let that go. I know it's bad. I just don't want to let it go. And yet and still, God still shows us so much love. It's crazy. It's actually a little scary the more I think about it. Like, and it's sad.
that's that example, like that's crazy, man. Because that's really how it, like you can't love them out of that, in a sense, like it's yeah.
Yeah. Like they always say, until they realize I need to change,
Mm,
it doesn't matter. And as we're going through Ezekiel, God has put them in a situation like this should be their rock bottom. Like, you saw the place where I put my name on the temple, that I all these beautiful resources Solomon used to build this temple. You saw me get to the point where I let some foreigners come in and destroy it, and
man.
still you like like if nothing else should snap you out of it, that should have been your wake up call. Like, we had some people actually come into God's nation, into his city, and defeat us. But yeah, it's just crazy. We
Yeah.
could talk on and on about it because it's so, like, the book of Ezekiel, like, as you really read it, there's so much context. It really shows God. It puts this spotlight on God and also this spotlight on us, who he really is, like the point you shared, and who we really are. you know,
Mm,
the two sides of that extreme. Like, man, he is super good, and we are super messed up.
yeah.
You know, and yet
Yeah.
he loves us. That's yeah, yeah. That I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start hooping. I don't want to start hooping. Um, so you can see on the screen next week. If you have one of our discipleship guides, we are going a little bit out of order because, quite frankly, the lessons, to me, in my opinion, are a little bit out of order. So we're going to try and course correct. So we're going to go lesson 7 next week. You can see it on the screen. It kind of picks 3 different chapters, 2 different books. So Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 20 and 21, Ezekiel chapter 23, verses 36 through 39, and then the book of Psalms 139, verses 13 through 16. Um, so we're looking forward to having you join us. If you check our Facebook page later in the week, maybe either today or tomorrow, I'll try and list all of the questions that the discipleship guide has. We're asking you to kind of look over those questions, answer those questions, because those will be our discussion points going into Saturday morning. So, did I miss anything, Rich? Anything you wanted to share?
No, that's it.
That's it. All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this review. Hopefully, if God says the same, we'll see you Saturday. You see the Zoom ID on the screen. We would love to see you. 45 minutes of good discussion, good sharing, and then you're out of there. The rest of the Saturday is yours. We promise. So, yeah, thanks so much for joining us on this Monday, and we'll see you again if God says the same.